Welcome. So this is part two of my stream. I did a video earlier today. Why so many broken families in the USA? Unpacking the complex truth. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to create some dialogue. If you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe. It's free to do so. Let's get to it.
So tomorrow we're going to a Juneteenth celebration. And I get a text from one of my cousins who's going to be attending the Juneteenth. And she says, "Oh, by the way, while we're there, we're going to have a cake celebrating my parents, which is my aunt and uncle, 60th wedding anniversary." And so it got me to thinking, like, I woke up this morning thinking 60 years. And, I grew up seeing my aunt and uncle together. We would, when I lived in another part of the state, when I was a little girl, we would come out and visit them. And so I've watched, this marriage progress all of these years. I'll be 60. So they got married in 1964. So this morning I'm telling my husband, like, we don't really know anybody that's been married more than 25 years. Like, he and I have been married for going on 15 years. But outside of my aunt and uncle, it drops from 60 to like 24. I don't know anyone in our inner circle that's been married for that long. And I'm in my head a lot, you guys. So it just makes you wonder, like, is the institution of marriage like this old thing that doesn't exist anymore? Because you just don't know people that's been married for years and years. I don't know. Maybe it's just my circle. Do you guys, like, know people in your immediate circle that have been married for, let's say, more than 30 years?
I'm 30 years old. Okay, so that's a very long time in regards to how long I've been alive. Okay, I would say the people that I know like that are from an older generation. As far as younger people, I would say no, and we're going to get into the reason that a lot of these situations exist.
Another huge reason why marriage is on the decline is because of female empowerment and feminism. And we have to talk about that because it's something that, like you had stated earlier, that it's about things being equal. And it's something where if you're a woman and you're successful and you're educated, it's one of those things where why would you necessarily, especially if you don't want children, why would you go down that route? Except for, I believe being, again, a partnership or relationship is something that is healthy for people if it's a good relationship. But I think that more and more women are willing to say, I really don't need a man,
Yeah.
and believe that.
So I
We are caught between nature versus nurture, in my opinion. But let's hear what the lady has to say.
agree. Like, I think that a big part of it is that people are coming in at equal playing fields, basically, which I think, as far as feminism goes, they should see that as a good thing, right? Like, feminism wants that.
Yeah.
They want two people to come together equally. I think that where it has almost swayed too far is where women still expect a man to make more than her. Instead, if there's no pay gap, potentially she could be earning more than him.
What?
Guys, we are living in a world where love is for sale and it's being sold, and it has turned into a commodity in the modern world. and perhaps it's always been like this, but increasingly so as we live in a so-called first world country, right? We're in the developed world. People are questioning their roles in relationships and as well as the value that they bring to one another. And when we attach a dollar amount to things that are abstract or intangible, I don't know if we could actually quantify that. How do you equate the love that one has for their spouse with a dollar amount? What does that have to do with the long-term maintenance of the relationship? Now, I'm not saying that we don't need to have income or take care of our basic needs, but if the reason that women say that they don't want to get married is because the man has to make more money than her, cool. But then we also state that, or a lot of the people that have these ideologies state that they want to be treated equally. It's just a lot of confusion. I would say that the ideologies that both parties, men, women, and is so many different ideologies at this point, is like what we believe is now our new religion. It's like to not believe in a religion is the religion. A lot of people would say that marriage is old school, long-term relationships are old school. The question that I keep running into that I've been thinking about lately is, when we forego marriage, what are we going to put in place of that? Because it has been a part of our relation to one another for thousands of years.
I think that's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the near future. If you look at universities, they're mostly women now. And on average, people make about $1 million more in their lifetime if they have a college education versus not. And so you're seeing all these educated women who are going to be in careers and doing well for themselves. And then there's all these guys who aren't in school. And yeah, maybe they're in the trades. That's great. But I think that there's also a lot of guys who are just kind of falling through the cracks. So it's going to make it more and more difficult for a woman to find a man that's even earning the same amount as her, let alone higher.
The conversation goes from logical to illogical. It's like when we're talking about families and mating and coming together, we immediately jump to. Meanwhile, in reality, millions of men and women can't pay back their student loans. Millions of people are in foreclosure on their homes. The average American, according to Forbes, has less than $1,000 in their bank account. So I'm like, where is all of this prosperity that people are about? I'll give you an example.
Did you know 70% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their savings account? Well, why does that matter? It matters because if you don't have $1,000 in your savings account, then you need to budget your money better.
Guys, we're living in some difficult times, man. We're living in some difficult times. These are actually some very dark days. I'm just going to skim through some of the problems that's really going on, right? Let's focus on the kids for a second. While the adults are confused about their roles, let's go to the kids for a second.
Okay, so in Texas, for K through 12 students, literacy has not gone back to pre-pandemic levels when we look at K through 12 kids. And there was a lot of different like theories and research behind this, but I personally think a lot of it has to do with the lack of guidance at home. And because when we look at the 80s and 90s, there was always a stay at home parent to help kids with their homework, to promote, reading and good literacy habits. Because, reading was just more popular back then because we didn't have phones or social media. But now, since most households cannot afford to be a one income household and both parents have to work, there's no one at home to really steer kids in a good educational direction. Kids are usually
But isn't that what the women who claim that they don't want to be wives essentially, isn't that the end game? Is not to raise kids?
just left to themselves and their devices. And we can really only see like parents, taking their kids to like educational, like Kumon or Mathnasium or whatever, or, helping them read or reading books with them. We only see that in upper middle class and wealthy families because those are the families that can afford to stay home and teach their kids how to read and learn.
And I also want to backpedal a little bit. It is a lot of women that want husbands. It's a lot of women that want families. That hasn't changed. The what has affected us is the environment, right? The environment is, I would argue, is anti-family, right? And I'm going to go straight into the meat and grinder of why I say is anti-family. Like, it's a whole system designed to destroy families, guys. It's a whole system designed to make men. Well, let's just get into the video.
Do you know how many other children he has under the age of 18?
2.
And how are the 2 children on this case covered for health insurance?
I pay cash out of pocket.
Do you have access to insurance through an employer?
Not at this time.
Do you agree that he should pay child support of $481 per month starting May 1st?
I feel like that's a little high, but I feel like he needs to pay something, but that seems a little high based on the total for everything.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
I'll move on. I'll move on. Do you agree that he should pay $128 per month for the medical support?
Yes.
If your address and phone number appear in the order, would that give you any safety concerns for yourself or the children?
Not at this time.
Guys, man, it's a lot going on. Like, you really got it, fellas. Be careful out there, man. It's a lot of talk. I see a lot of videos about don't date single moms. I get it. Don't date a man if he has kids. Okay, I get it. But don't get married. All right, I get it. You're going to lose your safety and security. And I do believe that children should be provided for. But this is where I'm getting at. If we remove the institution of marriage and a system to support it, that's really what the problem is. The system doesn't support marriages. What do I mean by the system? The economy, the infrastructure. The system doesn't support marriage. It's not just about the 2 people. The system doesn't support marriages. And as a result, we see millions of people getting divorced. We see millions of people afraid to form families, but it's having a negative consequence for the offspring. And even if you manage to come into a relationship with someone and try to do things in a constructive way. The environment has a lot of weeds in it because there's so many other people that's not on that level. And one day your child is going to grow up and they more than likely are going to meet someone who comes from a broken home. And that doesn't make them a bad person, but it can perpetuate another cycle. So can we challenge to the system and say, hey, things have to change, or our environment, we're not going to do well. And then you have people that go to school, go and get jobs, and their whole job is to destroy families. Why not just get jobs and have a system to where your job is to support the family? I'm sorry, but I am emotional about this because it's tragic what's going on, guys. And the name of this stream is why is so many broken families in the USA, unpacking the complex truth. And we can't ignore this, guys. This is really happening. This is very real.
Now, the prior order, which was, I believe, a divorce decree in 2015, did not have a non-disclosure. Has there been any family violence between you and Mr. Williams since 2015?
Since 2015?
Since the prior order, yes.
No, not since the order was signed. No.
Okay. I'll pass the witness and call Mr. Williams. Sir, did you hear my proposed amount after giving credit for the $8,000?
Yes.
And are you in agreement in a judgment of child support, a judgment on the child support arrears of $84,461.26?
Yes.
And you understand they gave you credit for $8,000 worth of direct payments to Miss Williams, right?
Yes. Yes.
Do you agree to pay that off at $473 per month?
Yeah, I can't afford it. I can't even afford my life right now.
I understand. You understand that $84,000 would accrue interest at about $422 per month. So the payout that we have to ask for on the arrears has to be more than $422. Is there an amount that you would propose to the court that you would prefer to pay other than $473 that the state is asking?
I can't afford it. I don't know what I'm going to be homeless.
Do you know how many other children he has?
He's going to be homeless. Come on, man. The system not working. If it was, and I get it. Uh, Children need support. That's not the argument that I'm making. The problem that I'm talking about is that the children are not getting the support. Let me go back to the previous video. Okay.
Okay, so in Texas, for K through 12 students, literacy has not gone back to pre-pandemic levels when we look at K through 12 kids. And there was a lot of different like theories and research behind this, but I personally think a lot of it has to do with the lack of guidance at home.
You see what I'm saying? The lack of guidance at home. And I have to be so direct because we live in an indirect society. Sometimes you just gotta put it in your face so that you can see the results of the actions. The results are not constructive, guys. We're living in a situation where it's messed out here, man.
I just saw a post about someone from outside of the US talking about US needs to revolutionize, and babe, we can't even come together in our family households.
Why you can't come together in your family households? Because the environment is not healthy. That's what I would argue. It's not just your family, the greater environment.
especially the Black community.
Why? See, I'm not opposed to the statements. What I agree with her, but you would have to get into the why. And see, once you get into the why, that's when people are going to start telling you to shut up.
I don't know. I don't know, sis. I don't know.
You don't know. And I agree. A lot of people don't know because they don't want to confront. Man. But we're going to get to the solutions. Don't worry. But first, we got to acknowledge some of the problems.
I just got out of a reunification therapist with my one son, and literally all we do is play every week. We talk, we update, he shows me things on his phone, I show him what's going on with the animals at my place. And even though the reunification therapist said that our kids have never exposed or said anything that I've done to get my kids taken away, but yet I'm still stuck in the system. But because I'm learning how to be pro se, things are moving, but I can't work, so everything's maxed out. My credit cards are all completely maxed out. Even yesterday when I went to court, the civil court, I didn't know what credit card I could use to buy a sandwich. My bank account is negative. It's ridiculous. I've been stuck with no children for 16 months, and I can't work because either I choose to work and never have my kids back, or choose to not work and learn the law so I can get my kids back one day. But the damage has been done. My children have been withheld from me for so long. They are been fed with so many lies, especially with their therapist that violated the order with my ex. 69 sessions he met with her without my knowledge for over a year and a half. But the new stuff I learned today and the filings I'm making within the federal court and in my family court, they're not going to be able to do it for long. Till then, thank you for watching my stuff, as it helps maybe I can get some money doing this now that I turned on to generate some income because I'm completely broke. We'll figure this out.
Man, guys, people are going through it out there, man. And it's like, how can they raise healthy kids? How, like, if the environment is unhealthy, how how can they raise healthy kids? How can a healthy human being come out of a situation like that?
Okay, listen, y'all. So, as I'm supposed to be working, mind your business. They got nothing to do with you. But anyway, I was on IG and I seen a clip that it said that women may feel like their rights are being compromised because they're trying to come out with something where men have the right to get a DNA test as soon as the child is born. Hmm. But what I'm trying to understand is, how is the women rights being compromised when soon as the baby start crying, you filing for child support? How is your rights being compromised when you're requiring them to care for this child? Like I'm not, it's not making sense to me. The only people that's would have a problem with this is these fuck women, okay? And quite frankly, I feel like men should have a DNA. It should be automatic. It should be a law, okay?
Man, guys. And the thing is, I look at the people that's going through this and my heart hurts. I'm not even going through that. But it's like, you gotta have a heart. It's like, man. And they wondering why guys are like checking out and ringing the bell. Their life sucks. That's why. Why do so many young men struggle with addiction and these things? Because they are trying to self-medicate. And I don't advocate that, by the way. I think that, sobriety has its place. But that's why they're looking for an escape.
When a child is born, I feel like a DNA test should be mandatory, and I'm going to tell y'all why. I done seen so many young men and older men get on here talking about how they found out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line that a child was not theirs. And as females, y'all have to learn how to take accountability and responsibility. If you know there's a possibility that the man is not the child's father, a DNA test will nip that in the bud from day one when the baby get here. But to see these men get on this app in tears and they're hurting because they done built bond with these kids and y'all know that it was a possibility that they was not the father and y'all let them think and go on all this time with the thought of knowing that they was that kid's father and you didn't say nothing. At some point, as a woman, you need to put on your big girl panties and get a DNA test done. That's why I just feel like it should be mandatory for a DNA test to be conducted at a child's birth, so there's no confusion, there's no nothing. Okay, because I understand what.
Women like her, she should be someone's partner one day because you have some common sense. And it's so sad that they have people that would even argue against that. How do you argue against paternity? There's no way you could argue against that without seeming as though you were trying to finesse someone into paying for something that's not even theirs.
I'm very confused about all the anger about child support payments. I am seeing a lot of this that there should be mandatory DNA testing, but what I don't understand is a father cannot be denied a paternity test by the courts to establish child support. So all a man has to do is request a paternity test.
But wait, hold on, sis. The problem is, I'll speak on Louisiana, but it's like this in most states too. A lawyer told me that I believe a child can have three different fathers. They can have the father who's on the birth certificate, the biological father, and if the woman gets remarried, a stepfather. Now, while I agree that guys should, a lot of guys they sign the birth certificate prematurely. Once your name is on the birth certificate in a lot of places, you have a window uh where you can modify and change that or you're on the hook. And a lot of times when your name is on there, you're on the hook. Come on, man. And imagine that for a second. Imagine a child is born and they're searching for their identity. They're searching for their identity and they go to look at their birth records and they're looking for their mother and they're looking for their father. And let's say a father name isn't on there. Imagine how they would feel. Like you're searching for your identity 30 years, 20 years down the line. It's like, I don't even know who my father is. And then when men try to advocate for themselves, they're demonized.
The courts cannot deny it. So why would you then want the government to have more power and be in control and mandate everyone needing a DNA test where all you simply have to do?
Because that's where we at now. They're already in control. So that's where we at now. This is the conclusion we have arrived at. We've arrived at, you know what? Go ahead and make it mandatory. Not that you can request it. No, it's mandatory. Before you start receiving checks, it should be mandatory. And shame on anybody that's out here stating that DNA tests should not be mandatory. Let me find the video.
DNA testing center. I had two guys call in. They work at DNA testing centers, One guy had to quit. One guy still works there. He told me 40% of the children are not the man's child.
40%.
40%. He said 40%.
Somebody call
and
Maury.
it's usually
make DNA testing
it's
mandatory.
two scenarios. It's where the woman, the person's getting a DNA test because the woman claims that is their child. Turns out it's not. The other one is where the parent is on a deathbed and makes a confession, or they need a liver transplant, blood transfusion, and the blood type. There's no way that can actually be the father.
Man. But if we start advocating, to make videos like this, some people would still argue that, oh, you like women. What? It's like we get shamed. And this video, I seen this video earlier, guys. This video is so wild. I think this is going to be the last video I play tonight. This video is so wild. Watch this.
I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from women for this, but it's fine. Don't care. Until you've actually experienced what we experienced as a family last year, you will never understand where we're coming from. So shh. DNA testing needs to be made mandatory before any man signs a birth certificate. Plain and simple. There are far too many men out here who are being forced, because it is forced, they weren't given a choice, to take care of children who they never even fathered in the first place. The impact that falsified paternity has on men, as a woman, you will never understand. I will never understand.
Right. It's like real deal gender discrimination. It's like men are really treated as second class. I mean, to be honest, like we're really treated as second class, especially when it comes to children and procreation and stuff like that. It's like, man, you get brought through the ringer, man, and it doesn't matter. And this is where guys will try to overcorrect by being super dad or superman, just so you don't get thrown into the category of deadbeat or bad. It's a whole shaming game that goes on, especially in the black community. When it's already been proven, like we got a stereotype that black men are deadbeat dads. So just imagine all of the black men out there that are actively going above and beyond to try to erase that stereotype. And no matter how much they try to counteract the stereotype that black men are not good fathers, that black men dislike black women, that black men are predators, no matter what you do, the stereotype is never going to be changed, because it's billions of dollars that was used to create the propaganda. And you got to really touch the streets and meet real people. Just my group of friends alone that I grew up with, all of them had dads at home or lived in a few miles from them that checked on them, that called them. I could name all of my friends that I knew, and all of them knew their dad. All of them had relationships with their dad. I was born in 1994. The majority of people that I know that's men, including me, were named after our fathers. Come on, man.
Because it's not you that's going through it. But I can tell you, having watched this unfold in my eyes, that the impact is detrimental and coming back. And women are responsible for this, especially the ones that know full well that that man is not the father of their children, and they have not communicated that. Statistically, you cannot actually state how many men have experienced falsified paternity. Why is that? From an interpretivist perspective, the reason why you cannot actually pinpoint statistically how many men experience falsified paternity is because a lot of men hide in shame. They go through this trauma and this pain quietly because they have no one to talk to, no one that understands where they're coming from, and they're embarrassed because really, in your head, you're probably thinking, how could you have been such a fool? How could you have been bamboozled? I'm here to tell you that if you ever find yourself in that position as a man, look, you are not a fool and you are not wherever else you call yourself, okay?
Because it's her body, her choice. She has the right to do whatever she wants to do with her body and whoever she wants to do it with consensually, whether she's married or not. And if especially if you're married, now that's the one that's like the lowest level of like betrayal. It's like if you're married to a man and you're living with him, y'all together, and he thinks that a child is his and it's not. And then they have some women that are actually not have no remorse and just say, I'm going like, yeah, he's gonna raise the child. You know what I mean? And we don't think about the children in the situation. Like the children are the ones that's going to be affected because the child has a natural born, in my opinion, notwithstanding any type of abuse or anything like that. And you gotta preference that because you have some people, as soon as we start talking about men's rights, the first thing people are going to say, men are abusive, men are this, men are that. Man, we can't even advocate for ourselves without being criticized or demonized. We can't even advocate for ourselves, but we're going to do it anyway. Forget how you feel about it. Yeah, we're going to stand on big business. You dig? Because if we don't stand up for ourselves, we're still gonna face consequences. So we might as well advocate and seek justice. And I don't believe anyone should be mistreated. Women shouldn't be mistreated. Men shouldn't be mistreated. Okay.
Okay, you are literally a victim alongside those children in this situation. And you see that woman, she's going to burn in hell. Nothing good ever comes from bad. Just remember that. A lot of people love to say that men's mental health matters, but does it really?
No, it don't matter to these people. We are a paycheck. Mental health, man. They don't care if your mother passed away. They don't care if your brother, your dad. They don't. A lot of people don't care if your wife passed away. They gonna look at you and say, "Where the money at?" You are a commodity, and ladies, you are being commodified also in this system because they're making money off of you while destroying your families.
Because if men's mental health really mattered, then we would have a wide variety of support groups available for men that have experienced falsified paternity. We seem to have a lot of support groups for single mums and a lot of support groups for mental health in general, but not support groups for men specifically who have experienced falsified paternity. The impact that has, yes, it is mental health, yeah, but the impact that has from a mental health.
Can y'all read the comment? The one of the comments says, "I witnessed with my own eyes an old friend tried to give another man's pregnancy to her own husband." Someone else says, "Dear diary, I've witnessed this, but it's worse when a woman actually doesn't know the dad at all. They just pick a good one."
Perspective, sometimes it helps to have a group that of people that have gone through the same thing where you can speak to each other and you can work through it together. But when I've googled and I've searched high and low, I'm finding that access to such support groups is very much limited, which means that either men's mental health doesn't matter in that regard or not enough light is being shed on falsified paternity. Falsified paternity is something that needs to be made a crime and far.
Okay, let me draw an example if you're listening. Imagine this. Let's look at it from a woman's perspective, because if it affects a woman, a lot of people would empathize. Imagine a woman gives birth at the hospital and she doesn't leave the hospital with the baby that she gave birth to. She leaves home with someone else's baby. And it was done on purpose. Would you agree that that would be wrong? Right? Can you see where that would be not constructive for all parties? Now imagine a man is in a situation where he wants to be a father and the child is not his. Yet, in many cases, his livelihood could be put at risk, having to financially compensate. He could even end up in prison. And worse things happens to men in prison, by the way. Okay? And it's not even a crime.
Because the impact that this has on men is unbelievable. I watched it unfold. And if you are ever in a position where you have to support someone that's going through falsified paternity, I'm telling you now, it's not easy. They never ever recover from it, all jokes aside. Women that do this, I'm telling you now, yeah, you're going to burn. You are going to burn. Yes, you are. Because if you don't do right by people, especially clean-hearted people that want to be fathers, don't worry. You think you got away with it. I come from a male-orientated household in the sense that there's only 6 female cousins in my family and the rest are all boys, okay? I have brothers and I'm the only girl child, and so, of course, anything to do with men is of a priority and concern to me, okay? Especially...
And that's why I think women don't understand when they start advocating things that hurt men. It's like, you could have a son. Your son could be affected by this. Um, it's a video, you guys, that I seen earlier today. I hate that it's not popping up on my feed. But basically, this lady was saying that a man shouldn't even trip off paying for a child that's not his. I'm so serious. Oh, I hate that it's not popping up. Oh, here it is.
Do you think paternity test?
How can a man walk away from a child?
You guys have to listen to this. This is problematic, and this is a mature lady, guys. And this is how they think. Listen to what she's about to say. That's why I love TikTok and I love stitching these videos, because you just watch the video. And she titled it, "Should a Man Walk Away When DNA Shows He Is Not the Father?"
That he has been raising for 3, 5, 10, 15 years simply because the DNA test shows that he's not the biological father. Hear me out here. I'm not being insensitive. I know that his world has just been turned upside down. I know he feels betrayed. He's devastated. I empathize. I sympathize with his predicament. However, how is one able to walk away from a child that one has bonded with, loved, nurtured, poured blood and sweat into, simply because the DNA test shows that you're not the biological father? I understand getting rid of the wife or the girlfriend. The word I actually want to use starts with a W and rhymes with sure. Get rid of the W. But the children or the child, the innocent child, it is flummoxing to me. Now, I'm not a man, and I do not know how this impacts men. I also know that there's deep shame. But were I in that predicament, of course I would be devastated. I'd be hurt and betrayed. But then I'd let the children know, or the child know. You may not be my biological child, but you're still my child.
It's not his child though. You gotta understand. It's not his kid. That's where I was like, what is she talking? It's not his kid. It's not his child. If the DNA test shows it's not his child, it's not his child. And if the biological father and they get all of that stuff straight in the courts and they say that they don't want this guy to have contact with a kid that he's been raising, then that's what it is. You get what I'm saying? We don't have anyone to advocate for us, man. We need a coalition. And I understand that a lot of guys do goofy stuff. Okay, so I'm not stating that adults should not face consequences for their actions. But let me show you how this is affecting the kids. This is how it's affecting the kids.
Y'all,
Kids cannot read.
these kids.
These kids cannot read. So a lot of these women are banking their stuff on getting child support and stuff like that. And they needed to take care of the kid, and you're gonna take care of your kids, and you must step up to the plate. Any man can make a baby, but it takes a man to raise a baby. All of these little cliche catchphrases. But then let's look at the results.
Kids can't read. They cannot read, but they can rap a lyric. Okay, I remember like back in my day, it used to be a problem when like we didn't know our schoolwork, but could rap lyrics to a song or no lyrics to a song. These kids cannot read. They cannot read. But
And I wish it was just one person saying this, right? But it's so many people saying this.
Everybody's talking about how kids can't read. Like, I see it everywhere. Kids can't read. Literacy rates all-time high. I just saw an article about how college professors are now reporting that their kids can't read.
Imagine your kid gets accepted into a university and they can't read. I'm gonna play another video about that. Now imagine these are the same people that one day has to vote and make decisions on society. Can't make this stuff up. So while we reject marriage, while we should reject anything that requires responsibility, and why we get punished, meanwhile, we get punished for trying to step up to the plate. Look at the results. The results are destructive. What are we going to put in place of marriage? Okay, don't get married. I get it. But if you're still going to have SCX and you have a kid, what is the future of the kid going to be like?
We could talk about the education system. We could talk about, teaching, reading, the curriculum. Don't get me started. I wrote a 29-page paper about choosing complex reading materials to teach reading. We could talk about it if you want, let me know. But I have a question for grown-ups. And I mean this nicely. Just, have you ever thought about how maybe kids aren't reading because they never see anyone else reading? Are you reading? Like, do you actually, when you get home and you're sitting and spending time with your family, do you guys, sit down and read?
I do actually. I just finished reading They Poured Fire on Us from the Sky. It's a book about the lost boys from the Sudan. It was a good book. And before then, I finished a Walter Mosley book, Black Betty, which was a really good book. Rest in peace, Walter Mosley. So I do. But at the same time, we're so overworked, I could understand why a person probably feel as though they don't have time to read.
I don't know. Maybe kids just don't have enough modeled behavior. Maybe we should start reading. I haven't read in a really long time, so drop it in the comments. What are you reading right now?
Thank you for asking. I'm actually thinking about reading a book called So Far from God, and it's about dealing with um immigration. But back to the topic at hand. We are witnessing, guys, the breakdown of the family, and I think we might be in a situation, guys, where it may be completely over with for guys. I don't know if we can. I don't know what the future is going to look like. I'm 30 years old and I have one offspring, and I'm glad that it has mostly worked out for me. But for the younger guys, man, they got a tough road ahead. And I'm young, right? And I don't even know if I would go out there and try to reproduce again, right? Because it's like man, it's literally life or death out there, guys.
I'll be good. I just got the paperwork. This baby is not mine. That's exactly what I just said. This baby is not mine, Michelle. Have you talked?
Now, my thing is this. I think all of this can be avoided if we just did this. Know when a relationship starts, because we have changed what a relationship is. Now, stay with me, because this has far-reaching consequences for the children that's born in these situationships. So my premise is that the relationship starts when you enter the bedroom. So I ask, when does a relationship start? My answer, when you enter the bedroom. Now, that means you could know the person for 1 hour, you could know the person for 5 years. If you enter the bedroom with this adult, you have now created a relationship with the person. Now, here's the problem. Guys not thinking or being young of age, we have contraceptives of all kind. We even can terminate, you know what, if we feel that is unwanted. So now this blurs the line of what makes a relationship, or when does know when the relationship. And that's me speaking, by the way. And that's my point. A lot of people don't know when the relationship starts. And if you don't know when the relationship starts, you're going to end up in a situation where you're putting yourself at danger. The relationship starts when you enter the bedroom. Into the room. First we talked about, and it's so crazy out here, guys. We believe that we should just be consumers. Most people, when I hear them talk about long-term relationships, one of the things that I hear people say often is that they risk their safety and security. A lot of people believe that if they were to get in a relationship, that their safety and security would be at jeopardy. Like they could lose their house, their cars, their material things. Their most basic needs would be at risk. Vice versa for women. A lot of women fear that their freedom would be at risk. Men too, but a lot of women, they have been taught to view marriage and long-term relationships as detrimental. And that's all fine and dandy. That's all. But what are we going to put in place of that? Okay, if you're anti-family, or your safety and security is going to be at risk. Cool. But then it becomes a conversation about reproduction. Are you still going to reproduce? Because if you're still going to reproduce, this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get, guys.
Does a contempt matter? I'll ask the agent to give us the numbers.
You said contempt?
Yes.
Tim, go ahead.
Yes. So the arrears balance as of February 28th, 2023 is $33,163.86. The current support amount is $291. The current repay amount is $58. And the purge amount that's still on the order from the first arrest order is $873.
You haven't made a payment towards that purge for the arrest order. When you plan on doing it?
You said
Play these games if you want to, fellas. Play these games if you want to. But it's not going to go the way you want it to go. You're not bigger than the government. You're not bigger than the government, guys. And thinking that the thing that you have in your pants is a game and a toy is not a toy. It creates life. And since you're a male, you're going to get the majority of the blame. And it doesn't even matter. That's why I say, since the system is so strict on men, I've just put it in my mind that I will always take majority of the blame for whatever happens. I'd rather just be proactive and put myself and hold myself accountable, because trying to find someone else to blame, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. And I'm speaking directly to the little bros and the nephews and the people that don't have somebody to talk to them, because there's an 18-year-old kid right now, or a 24, 25-year-old kid, and they don't have a dad at home to talk to them. They don't have an older brother to talk to them, to teach them these things. And then they're going to end up getting some young girl pregnant because what they have hormones. And then the system just is going to feast off of them.
An arrest order for when?
Yes, put an
never
arrest
been
order.
arrested.
Listen to me. You hadn't paid, and I issued an arrest order for $873. When are you going to pay it?
Man. Oh, man, guys. At this point, I'm surprised people are surprised at this. Check this. And they're surprised that this is going on. Check this.
Millennials and Gen Z do not want to have children.
But who would? If you guys could see the face that I just made, I just like grinning my teeth, because it's like, it's ridiculous.
Study just came out saying that a lot of millennials and Gen Z are not wanting to have children, or only want to have like one child.
That's me. One and done. I love my son with all of my heart. And financially, it is like, I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I had no kids at all, because I want to reproduce. But I think the days of having like really big families, where it's like, having 3 or 4 siblings, or even more than that, that's over with, guys. It's a wrap. And I want you to really look around. Go talk to some of your younger people that you may know if you're older. Most people that you may meet have one child. If they do have children, they have one child. Now, it's a few people, mainly females, that have multiple children, but not men.
I wonder why. I mean, the study said finances, which I get that, because like childcare costs are expensive, like housing, food cost, everything like that is, finances come into play. It's expensive. But then I wonder, like, I mean, I get like freedom too, like they just want more freedom. I get that too. But also like, I wonder if community comes into play and like having a village. Like a lot of us don't have the village that we used to have. And like the community, the sense of community where we knew like, you know, we could lean on each other. So I wonder if that comes into play too. Like I'm just really curious about that study. That's very interesting. If you're,
like I said, once we start getting away from some of these things that we consider old fashioned and outdated, what are we going to replace it with? It's cool to have your alternative lifestyle, but what are the consequences? Man. But yeah, a lot of young people, they're not going to have kids. And I believe that the environment is not going to allow them to have kids. A lot of our parents who were, in their 20s, they had kids or had a child or were even married. Some were in the military and all of this stuff is over with, guys. Everything that represented uh constructive society is going to be flipped on its head. That's where we're headed. And think about the people that's going to be born 50 years from now. If you think the man, and see, we can't even talk about this type of stuff because people will say, "Hey, man, enough already. Enough the with the doom and gloom." But check this: the birth rates are declining, guys. So for everybody that says, "Hey, if you can't afford it, don't have it," well, that's what they're doing.
Why is the U.S. experiencing such a significant drop in birth rate? 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, life expectancy wasn't too high and kids dropped off at a pretty good rate. Unclean water, unclean food, no vaccines. Along come the 1900s. Here in the U.S., after World War II, you could have a single person with an income that would allow you to buy your house, send kids to college, and continue to climb that ladder. Of course, that came along with the destruction of the multi-generational home and a lot of emphasis on moms doing pretty much everything at home and everything child rearing / parenting by themselves. Now the last generation of two is recognizing that two incomes might not be enough to afford the home, get you out of debt from college, let alone get you anywhere close to comfortably raising even one kid. So let's just say a couple nowadays wants to have a kid and a female gets pregnant. They choose to have a kid. The woman does so at the risk to her own body, now particular risk in some states where it can be a life or death matter. Seriously, I mean it. Like right now in the Supreme Court, they're arguing a case that's been brought forth by Idaho.
I'm sorry, guys. Let me read this comment. This lady said, now I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what she wrote. I have a really good job, but they said they would fire me if I got pregnant. Refused to cover maternity leave, so I got my tubes tied because I couldn't take that risk with the student loans I had. Man, see, first of all, sis, you should file a lawsuit. That's discrimination. No one can tell you that you can't reproduce. You should file a lawsuit. That is file a lawsuit, excuse me. That is that's horrible. And what I always say is that this is the environment that you guys created. You created this environment for these young people. And then when the young people are not doing well, you blame the young people. At what point do we question the environment? And it's like we can't even criticize you can't even criticize or state how you want things to be, or what would be a constructive result, or what we could implement that would be constructive without being called woke. We create all of these flashpoint words when it's like, listen, we're talking about the human experience. This is what people are actually going through. So if people don't have kids, cool. Basically, they're only existing to be consumers, and then at the end of it, bye bye. And that's where we're at. That's literally what's going on.
Where you can try and decide how much damage, how many organs a woman can lose before emergency care needs to be rendered to still comply with EMTALA, a law that governs who and how things should be treated in the emergency room. And for this couple, if they get through the pregnancy and the woman is not harmed physically, she still will have that baby at the detriment of her career, because again, both of them are likely going to have to work to afford the house and to afford the kid and afford college and all those kind of things that they may want.
Guys, humans been alive for centuries. It should not be this complicated. We've been alive for thousands of years. Why is modern society so out of whack? Like, the conversations are just so like silly. Women have been having babies for generations. Like, we all got here because somebody had a relationship. Men have been working. We used to have to do all kind of work. Like, most of our grandparents fought in the Second World War, Vietnam War, Korean War. These guys had to go through a lot. And here we are in modern society, and we are like so privileged that we're creating problems for ourselves that shouldn't even exist. Man.
To go through for their kid. And for families not so fortunate to even be able to consider buying a house or sending their kid to college, but just wanting to feed them, well, if you're in tough financial shape, well, boy, our country does nothing for you. No paid maternity leave, no universal child care, no support in helping raise that kid in a way that will allow a family to be comfortable. And yet conservatives in the GOP, which are decrying the lower birth weight, are the exact same party that are actively working at reducing benefits for moms and babies. SNAP and WIC, universal child care again, no way. Healthcare costs to be covered, no way. Have a kid, but then you deal with that enormous expense in a world where you can't even make ends meet. I think we also forgot to mention that women who work here in the US get paid a percentage of what men get paid. They deal with a lot more harassment, and again, having a child is for sure likely to harm their career path.
And as a result, they pin us against each other. And then what happens? Women decide they like, okay, we're gonna get this money through child. That's the only other person you could get it from. And it's like,
the U.S. government is panicking because the birth rate is falling, which means that GDP could be falling, which means that billionaires could make less money.
So they want women to have more babies.
So they are trying everything they can, except lower prices, make better healthcare, allow people to work from home, or making child.
guys, that's been my stream for tonight. I hope that I gave you something to think about. I would love to hear what you think. Why so many broken families in the U.S. Unpacking the complex truth is really tragic out there, guys. And I don't know what the next 10 years is going to be like, but if I would have to guess, I would say more of the same.